for the next 2 years, which is when that when the next millage would have to be approved. The fund balance for both the special ed budget and the general budget are in decline, and that so when that millage comes up, they're going to have a need, and they'll have to address that at that point in time. But right now, to keep everything funded, the decision has been made at the ISD level to let those fund balances ride down. Any questions or comments?
I just, with the change that you were talking about, how many more dollars would flow?
It's hard to say. I think on paper it could look like a large dollar, but understand that we do have some services that we get. So it's changing the model. It may seem like it would be a windfall initially for the district. However, that fee-for-service model will be sending money back to pay. So it's hard for me to say initially. That one of the things that would benefit us proportionately is that we tend to be or tend not to be a real heavy user of WISD programs. And so to the extent that we're having our students remain in Saline and educating them here in Saline with specific special needs, that will save us money. We'll get the full kind of benefit of that right now, because of the way the overhead structure is in place, we may send a few kids, but yet we all have a proportional cost associated with it. So,
could that work as soon as next year?
Potentially, yeah. I know that they're projected to make recommendations in October, and so we're hopeful that we change. Understand that we would need the support of our other local boards to kind of make some of those moves. And I know at least a couple of districts have seen that and are working towards that. But that's an area I think we can look at.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the updates to policy 8490, inter-school athletics defined as club or varsity sport, and policy 8500, addition and deletion of interscholastic athletics as recommended by the policy committee.
Support.
Trustee Delhay with a second from Vice President Hepp. And did Karen or Scott want to speak to that?
The recommendations are largely the recommendations that came out of the initial athletic review committee that took place in December. If you recall, they made several recommendations related to one related to these two policies, another one related to kind of the format with which both district supported and school subsidized, non-district supported and school subsidized groups report back budget information to parents and to the community. And so what we've done tonight, what we are asking tonight is that we address the initial recommendations related to this policy. Of note, this policy really does describe now the process with which a district or a self-funded program could transition, or at least ask to transition to a district-supported organization. And so that is one of the things. We had that conversation at length at the policy committee. What would that look like if organizations wanted to come forward and ask to become district supported, whether or not we have the funding to support that right now or not. That would be a decision of the board as the policy. That process didn't change. I think we have a better articulation of how it would work now. And so that's something that I think the board would need to consider if organizations do come forward. If the organizations do come forward, it gets us to a point where we need to discuss what we've talked about before, called the equity issue related to the pay-to-play fee for students who are district supported and the fees associated with self-funded. And so, not that we're pushing down the road, I really don't feel like this policy is to address the financial aspects of it. This is if you're going to add or delete a sport or a program, how does that take place? And so it really clearly defines that now and the expectations associated with it. One of the things inside of the policy that is discussed is this template format for budgeting that we want all organizations to be taking place. And so we're going to be coming back now to policy. I looked at our policy book. 9740 district supporter organizations is likely where we want to incorporate language associated with our expectation in terms of the financial reporting component. So that's not occurring here, although it's kind of referenced in here, or it's implied in terms of the template budget form is something that organizations that are making the application to become district supported would need to have in place prior to that. So,
and it's my understanding that second part of it, the financial reporting. The reason we're breaking it out is that that financial reporting would include things like the Music Boosters Club, National Honor Society and Club. So anywhere where there's money being raised and potentially generated, that we would have policies in place. So this is kind of the first train on the track in that process. Any other questions or comments?
I just would think, a lot of the work done here goes back to the athletic review committee that Mr. Ellis was involved with.
Yeah.
Parents, the parents and the coaches and that folks on that committee really did much of the work, and then the policy we did a couple of weeks.
Yeah, to work with Karen on the policy committee leading that effort, certainly appreciate it. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the Houghton School property request for proposal as submitted by Superintendent Grady.
So moved.
Secretary Heine and Trustee Delhead.
Included in your packet, and it's somewhat ironic that today's the day we're talking about the property of we haven't heard destruction and demolition has begun to take place at Houghton School, much of the new gym area. I don't know how far they got in the rain this afternoon, but that is currently taking place. If you look at this RFP, one of the things that we've been talking about since we've had that property appraised and really thought about whether or not the district needs it and would it be viable for a school, we've certainly made the decision that we no longer feel it's necessary for us to have a school in that setting, in that residential setting. And so what would be the next best use for it? Currently, the underlying zoning is residential, so what this RFP does is defines an opportunity for us to divest ourselves of the property and really maximize it in two ways. One is what is the straight revenue associated with the sale of the property that could be realized. When we do an RFP and ask people to bid on it, we're hopeful that people will bid enough to secure the property itself. And secondly, what type of development will take place in the property. And so ultimately our goal is not only to get the best value for the actual real estate, but also to maximize the long-term return to the district, and that's really to the students. And so if you look on page 5, it really talks about the goals of the RFP. It's to develop a first-class project to provide affordable housing, to encourage families to purchase one-family homes located on the project, that they be consistent with the existing family developments. That means when we talk about the density associated with that, they'd be similar to the density that takes place to the north and to the east of the property. And then ultimately, that it also maximizes the number of school-aged children that live in that. So we're looking at home designs that would maximize the use of that for school-aged children. And certainly one of our goals continues to be to maximize the revenue associated with the actual sale. On page 10, it talks a little bit.
Before you go into this, we're asking someone to purchase the land from us.
Yep.
And that would be conceivably a private enterprise. So how are we able to make strictures on what they do with their own property? After they've purchased it?
There would be conditions of purchase. And so, ultimately, as defined in here, and this is certainly a form, I don't want to call it a deed restriction, but it would operate as much as a deed restriction. That they would need to develop it as they agree upon the original purchase.
And then the city also has a role in it through their planning commission. They would have to approve the site plan, and we've had good cooperation with the mayor and also Todd Campbell in terms of being on the same page. And they've been very cooperative in that effort. So I think everybody's aligned in terms of most of how you can
Something we sell something to someone, we tell them what they can do with it.
Well, and ultimately, one of the things that the RFP does define is the type of person who's going to frankly fill out an RFP and want to do this will have done this project, similar projects in the past. So this is kind of what they do. So the intention is to if we were to sell it now, we would sell it to someone who's done enough projects to show credibility that that's what they want to do with the property anyway. And so the idea that they're concerned about the use of those things. One of the criteria is that they have the financial feasibility, the capability to complete the project quickly. So it includes that they can get secure conventional funding for both the purchase of the property as well as development. Right now, we're hearing that the funds available for purchase is there because there's an asset. Funding for development is a little bit softer, so we want to make sure what we do as the funds available. It doesn't say I want to buy it now and sit on it for 3 years. We want to purchase it. If we're selling now, we purchase and development to begin as quickly as possible so that the houses will go up. And that they present evidence that there's viability in terms of what they want, and that they've done a project of similar size and scope in the past, and that they have some degree of credibility as it relates to saying they know that school-age children are going to likely to have their homes. And so I'll use an example. Harwood Farms locally is a development that's been growing, and I think we're 13 plus or so.
14 homes currently under construction.
And our research showed that community, in terms of the size of home, the type of homes that are being developed there, is consistent with producing, or at least enticing families to move in to have school-age children. We have a lot of students that are coming out of there, versus some other developments in our community that are ongoing and developing somewhat larger homes, larger lots, tend to have fewer school-age children. So I think, part of the review process is that a committee of the board will be able to review these, and we'll be able to look at those things, and certainly hope that the developer will be able to articulate, if they've done projects in the past, how many school-age children have purchased homes similar to that they want to propose it for the whole project. That's the. This proposal was put together through our attorneys through law firm, Gordon Van Weer, been down this road. Okemos is a district similar to Saline, located adjacent to East Lansing, that had a property that was similar to Okemos. So they've done this similar development in the past, and this proposal, not only maximizing the price, but also the development of student producers. The last thing is that if we go through the process and choose, the value isn't there, the development isn't right, no one can, nobody visit, we're not bound to sell it to the lowest bid, we're not bound to have estimated. This is simply a request for us to be able to review, establish the criteria, and then ultimately determine whether or not they sufficiently meet our criteria to proceed with a potential sale. So we feel a lot of opportunity with flexibility moving forward.
With the school building coming down, our outlay for the land on the road is very low.
Absolutely, yeah. So the out for us, if we're not comfortable with what we get, you're right, it's not like, well, we better do it because we're only gonna invest more in the property.
Because land is a great place to save money. So that would be something to consider as well.
We do have that option. I mean, the housing market is tightening up. There's a shortage of housing stock now. Theoretically, the value of that property should be going up. Would it be more valuable 2 years from now than 6 months from now? I mean, that's a judgment we're going to have to make.
And certainly by the within a month, yeah.
And then what do we have to do to the land to make it sale ready?
We don't really do, they're gonna be removing all of the asphalt and all of the fencing, with the exception of the east side fencing. So the bid for the demolition includes them kind of putting grass seed down and returning it to its natural open field. And at that point, other than mowing and maintaining,
The hours shut off. When will the RFP go out?
If the board were to approve it, the RFP will go out virtually immediately. There's a meeting that will be scheduled for people who want to review the property and review the RFP and talk with district representatives on the 22nd and 1 p.m. RFPs will be due by May 30th, so it's a fairly tight timeline on this initial process. I do agree that the property, you talk about down the road, the property value goes up. If we waited 10 years and we could have had 25 students on that property every year for 10 years, there's value being lost there as well. So I think that's why I think you really think about, $50,000 in increased value of the property is small when you think of 25 to 50 students over a period of several years.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Discussion items. Secretary Heineck, any updates, committee?
We met yesterday and went up through just some highlights of the current state of energy bills again, because they continue to come in, even though not today, it's winter, summer, no spring. We did a little bit of looking at next year's budget a little bit. The state is not committed yet to funding, so it's still a little topsy-turvy. We talked about a couple of revenue-generating ideas. That's about it. Could be.
Budget gap closure. Assistant Superintendent Warner.
As Paul mentioned, we did talk about our utility invoices. We've gotten most of them through the end of March, and it's looking like we'll be between $400,000 and $425,000 over budget in utilities alone. Because of this and other issues, we have developed an energy committee, which includes Rex Cleary, the facilities director, Rob Mills, who handles most of our HVAC, Julie Campbell, our finance manager, and myself. And we do have a meeting scheduled with our account manager from Constellation Energy to review our contract and the invoicing process, how meters are read and all. And at a minimum, we should garner some good information for moving forward and how to best manage our utility costs. Additionally, we have talked a couple of times at board meetings about our staffing costs and the reduction in staffing costs due to the 6 snow days that were forgiven by the state. I did run some numbers, preliminary numbers, and due to the fact that a great majority of our hourly staff that would be covered by this are paraeducators, and their costs are reimbursed through the state and Act 18. And additionally, we had quite an increase in overtime from the buildings and ground staff for plowing. The savings is really not significant, and it's not going to put a dent in this $400,000 utility overrun.
One of the things, and to kind of piggyback on that, it certainly was our hope moving into this year that we identified essentially about a 1% gain in terms of our fund balance had been identified, meaning about we wanted to put about $500,000 away from this year's budget to make sure we ended over 5%. While the winter was extremely difficult, we were still hopeful relatively recently we'd be able to juxtapose some of the savings associated with the snow day to be able to get close to covering. I just want everyone, the board and everyone to be aware that the winter was more difficult than I think we had anticipated even up until recently, certainly from a financial impact. It put us in a very precarious position as it relates to meeting our initial financial goals for the fund balance. And frankly, this is why you would go into a year looking to add to your fund balance, because if something of this nature were to occur, this isn't like we overstaffed. This isn't like we are not producing the revenues we thought early in the year and we haven't adjusted for it. This year is pretty good, starting about 2 months ago. We're going to have a pretty big hole moving forward.
Yeah, I think it's it's clear we're not going to reach that 5% goal, but we understand it. It's one of the coldest winters on record, so we understand that energy variance. But I think it just points out that we're up on the tightrope, and we wobble. We're running that thin on that fund balance that when we have a situation like that we just can't account for, we don't have control over it, that it puts us in a bad way, and we're going to have to take that into account moving forward, and hopefully we won't have a winter like that again. But it may lead to discussions with the utilities for some type of budgeted plan where we pay a flatline fee over the entire year, things of that nature. Something so that we can have a better predictive nature of those costs. And so I know Janice has run a lot of numbers on this, and we appreciate that. And I think as long as we have an understanding of why we end up where we end up, that's the key thing.
This is exactly the reason why we need to take fund balance.
Yeah,
This is what we've said, a move forward. this case, 8 feet of snow. So obviously, we're trying to get back up to that 5%, but we've been trying to get back up to that 5% for a while, so.
You look at this,
We need to make room in the budget to reach it. And also, as I said before, think about that.
you think about, had we adopted a budget that was essentially a break-even budget. Essentially, right now, we're talking about money that we had set aside to try and go to fund balance that would likely be eaten up by this energy variance. Had we adopted essentially a break-even budget, we're talking about either fund balance or worse yet, had we not to have a fund balance, looking at deficit. So, I think your point's well taken.
Yeah, there was, I know you had included some mechanical overtime costs in your estimate, but there was also a large toll on the buses themselves, which are,
Right.
shortens their lifespan in the district. And, everyone saw the picture of the battery explosion, so.
Yeah, there are costs looming out there, and they're big costs. In terms of infrastructure to our buildings, we always call it the new high school. The new high school is 10 years old. So we're reaching a point where, if you drive through the parking lot, that parking lot needs to be revamped. That's gonna come with pretty big price tag. And, we have roofs, we have, high-vac systems. Eventually those are gonna need to be replaced. So at some point, we will have to come to the community and demonstrate that need. And before we reach that point, we have to continue to demonstrate that we are fiscally responsible with their money. If we do that, we will earn their trust, and we will be able to make that case. Any other questions or comments? The chair will entertain a motion to authorize items A through D as part of the consent agenda. So moved. Chief, with a second from Trustee Freeze. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Items scheduled on the next agenda, we have the representatives from the PTO. We're going to ask them back. We had them here in the fall. We pledged at that point that we would ask them back at the end of the year, just to kind of get a recap of how their year went, what went well, what we can do to better support them. So that'll take place at the next meeting. And then Superintendent Graydon will give us a update on the strategic framework.
Yep, both not only in terms of kind of what we're doing for this year and how the strategic framework has been implemented this year, but also an opportunity to really define some of the goals. We talked in February in our retreat about kind of specific goals for next year, and there'll be an opportunity to kind of articulate those in a deeper fashion. So that'll be next time we meet, which will be the day after Memorial Day.
Yeah, and just, we will actually meet before then. We will meet next Monday on the 19th at 6 o'clock. That'll be a closed session for the purposes of collective bargaining. And we'll have a little food at about 5:30. Not on the district dime. This is the second opportunity for members of the audience to address the board for up to 3 minutes. Is there anyone who wishes to address the board this evening? The next Board of Education meeting will be held on Tuesday, May 27th, 2014 at 6:30 here at Liberty. And with that, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn. Trustee Carter and Vice President Hepp. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? We're done. Also like to remind everybody at 7 o'clock, we're going to have David Cook and his presentation on addiction, which Trustee Delhay was instrumental in arranging.